and welcome to the Golden.
I'm leaving that in.
Oh, you're fantastic. Hello and welcome to the Goldenrod Podcast. I'm Ben, as always. I'm joined by fellow Pokemon enthusiast Conor to bring you some of the latest and greatest Pokemon news and a few laughs along the way. This week, we are taking a look back at what we got this year in all things Pokemon, and thinking ahead to what do you think we're going to get next year in 2024. In our Devil's Advocate section, we'll be arguing, or at least one of us will be arguing, that Game Freak should not release any games in 2024, which we didn't decide who was doing it.
We didn't decide who was going to do it
We'll
yet.
do that later on. As always,
We'll do it live!
We'll do it live. You can tell we have had a bit of a break, but not for you. We were here last week. We're here this week. As always, you can jump to a timestamp, a topic at the timestamp. Oh my God. You can tell I've like switched off. My brain is not functioning. Anyway, Conor, how are you?
I'm doing really well, mate. Having a really, really good holiday so far. Nice to have a few days off and just hang out with family until they got annoying and then hang out with friends. It's much easier. Like, I love them dearly, but as soon as there's 12 people in the house, it's a case of like, no, I'm done. I'm gone.
It gets a bit chaotic and yeah, crazy. We typically, whenever me and my family get together, we're quite lucky that we have like typically a living room and then either a dining room or a kitchen, so people will congregate between one of the two. So typically the kids will just go off and do their own thing, the adults stay in one of the other rooms, and then some of the adults might go, I'm just going to go in with the kids for a bit and I'm going to relax and wind down, which I think you have to do. Like, you can love your family,
sit in with the kids to wind down.
Oh,
that
no,
sounds
right.
We must have very different families.
We must do. No, but the kids are 9, 11, and 12, so they're at that age now where it's not chaotic. They are just like playing on the Switch. They might be playing on their phone or just chatting or whatever, or playing with Lego. Like, it's dead easy, so I can just go in there and just wind down. And I think what I was going to say was, like, you can love anyone the most in the world, but if you are forced to be with them for there comes a point where it goes, no, this is too much. I need my own space. I need to go off with somebody else. I do like my family, by the way. I know none of my family listen to this because they don't support me, which is it's fine. But if they are listening to this,
so it's none of your family. Your wife doesn't. Do you have friends who listen to the podcast?
I don't think they do. To be quite honest with you, I know people do listen to the podcast because I've got the viewing figures, but none of my friends or family have ever come out.
Can we just get a "We love you" Hoenn in the comments, or an email, or just add him on Twitter, please? Just show this man some love. So he needs to know somebody supports him.
Let's jump into the main topic then, shall we? Look back at what we got this year. Is there one in particular that stands out, or one thing that you want to start with? I know we've got our list here, but I'm happy to go through in pretty much any order.
I mean, shall we get the one that we've talked about most recently, and therefore we'll have the least to say out of the way, which is the DLC? I genuinely thought we got Scarlet and Violet this year. I can't believe that came out in November last year. That I don't know why. It just feels like it dropped in January.
It's over a year old. It's 13 months old. That's just dawned on me. That's ridiculous.
And it hasn't finished yet. We've still got to wait till January for the game to finish.
Yes. Oh, that's
which we didn't cover last week because the trailer came out like as we were recording. Yeah. So I finished the recording session and went, Ben,
there it is.
Thing.
There it is. But we'll talk about that in looking forward to next year, which I'm looking forward to. Yes. But yeah, so Scarlet and Violet's 2 pieces of DLC. The Secret Treasures of Area Zero. Obviously, for our full breakdown, you can go back and listen to the 2 in-depth episodes that I think were both 2 hours long. I personally think it's been a good year for Pokemon DLC to continue you coming back to Scarlet and Violet. Not saying it's great, but I think it was good enough. And, just delving into very briefly what we spoke about in the pieces of DLC, there was enough content, especially in the second piece of DLC, to bring us back to that game and get us to continue enjoying it. I'm still playing it now. I don't know if you are, though.
I haven't picked it up in a little while, but that's just because I've been busy more than anything.
Okay. See, I've been shiny hunting. I am going all in on that Flabebe, Litwick, and Milcery event. Flabebe's evolution line done. 15 shinies across the 5 different variations. Litwick done in a day. Like, the odds are ridiculously good. They're like 1 in 200. Absolutely fantastic.
Sorry, go over that again. 5 different shinies across all the variations.
So for Flabebe, there's 5 different coloured flowers.
Yeah.
And then there's the 3 of each. Sorry, 1 for each stage. So Flabebe, there's 5. Floette, there's 5. And then whatever.
Yeah, but I assumed that it was a case of like there was 5 Flabebes and then 1 shiny, not a shiny for each one.
Shiny for each one. So it's 15 really? In that family.
Because I know with Minior, it's got a bunch of different colors, but only one of them is shiny.
That's the other thing. This is where it gets complicated, okay? Because Milcery, so when Milcery evolves into Alchemy, it has 63 forms. I have done research into this, and I still can't come up with an answer. I've got one set of the community going, there's 7 shiny Alchemies. That is it. And then I've got another set of the community going, no, there's technically 63 shiny Alchemies, because when you import them into Pokemon Home, it can recognize, oh, this is a shiny version of this version. So now I'm like, I've got 9 Milceries. So I'm like, do I just say I've got the 7 shinies and be done with it? Or do I go for the whole hog and go for 63?
See, my understanding was that prior one, that you can have lots of different colored Milceries. Lots of different colored Alchremies and 1 shiny colored Alcremie, and then you get the different toppings.
Yes.
Which is the different forms.
Yes. Pokemon Home apparently recognizes that you've got... apparently, Pokemon Home, when you go into the Pokedex, it has 128 entries for Alchemy. 1 for each of the normal 63, 1 for the other 63 shinies, and then 1 for Dynamax, 1 for Gigantamax.
But you don't...
It's ridiculous.
You don't spin a specific way to get the shiny version, do you? It just...
I don't know.
You spin and it becomes a shiny Alchemy because it's a shiny Milcery.
See, this is what I've been looking into.
Keep us updated.
Honestly, I'm at that point there. Do I just end it with 7 shiny Alchemies and just go, no, that's done and dusted. Anyway, yeah. So the DLCs, I am still playing it. The shiny hunting is keeping me back. Farming for Herba Mysticas and doing the raids, keeping me coming back. Doing the grinding for the BPs is keeping me coming back. It's gonna keep me in that game. I think for a while, which will roll into the epilogue. It'll be interesting to see how long I play it for next year. But overall, for DLC, I do think it was a good year.
It's actually got me interested to play the game again. So I tried playing Scarlet and Violet again once before when I was getting a bunch of recorded footage for it. I got to like between the 4th and 5th gym, I think, off the top of my head, there's a weird level jump that if you're just rushing through the game, doesn't fit very well. And you just have to stop progress and go off and grind for ages. However, if you have the option to just go off to Kitakami at that time, I think that might be the perfect place to put it in. Okay. Because you're not super over-leveled, so you don't just completely run over everybody there. The Ogerpon fight's still going to be quite hard. It gives you a nice break from the monotony of Paldea after a while, which by the 4th or 5th gym, it's kind of like, okay, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Give you that break, come back, finish off everything, and then you've got a nice little bit of distance between Kieran and Carmine's story and its conclusion once you've beaten Paldea, done Area 0, and then you head off to Blueberry Academy. So I'm very excited to play the game again with the DLC.
Yeah.
More so than I was playing the DLC that the game's finished.
Well, that's it. Yeah, because you are absolutely right. A person's experience for Scarlet and Violet does depend on how they play. Because, like you say, we approached it from we complete the main game, now we do 2 pieces of DLC. But for somebody else, it might be one coherent story of No, the DLC naturally, like say, just slots in Kit Kami in that part, and then Blueberry Academy is almost your end game, and then we've got the epilogue coming next January. So I'm sure there'll be people going, in terms of the flow of that game, it has one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to think of another word other than flow, but the flow of the game just works because it takes you from a level 5
if you play it that way.
Yeah, yes, that's it.
Which is unfortunately not the way they released it.
No, and there's no way. The only people that will get the benefit of playing it that way are people that have just flat out refused to play anything from Gen 9, and then will have had to have looked up, okay, what kind of order should I play? And then it comes back to this comes back to the issue of Gen 9 of you can do it in any order that these 18 things, you can do it in any order that you want. Well, no, because even Kitakami is like Blueberry Academy, you can't play it your way. You have to play it. It's the last thing you do in the game. Kitakami.
Yeah, and I think it works really well. And
Agreed.
It feels good because it's meant to be then and there. And like I did my Elite Four in the order they kind of suggest. If you look at the introduction to them, you see their rankings.
Yes.
So I did it in that order, and I was like, look, I can do it in any order I want, but let's just do it this way. And the level curve was perfect. As I say, I started at about sort of mid-60, mid-70, and finished mid-70, mid-80, which was pretty much on par with my opponents the whole way through. So, and that was the issue we had with, the base game as well, was, yeah, you can go fight Grusha immediately, but their levels are just higher than yours. So, Scarlet and Violet still stands to me as a game that, yes, you can technically do in any order, but plays better if you don't.
Agreed. Yes. I completely agree. It does feel like the kind of game where they should have either made it. They should have either stuck with the guns and gone, no, this is roughly the order you need to do it in, because that's what they've gone for in terms of they've programmed in the levels, or they should have gone, okay, there needs to be some kind of auto level balancing scaling so that you can play in any way that you want. And like we said, like I'm not against you having to play in a particular order, because the Elite Four, we did it in completely different orders, but we still both had a really great experience because, again, the level isn't jumping up and down wildly. It's roughly in that, you're in your 70s. That's where you need to be. So it works really well. Whereas the base game, it doesn't, because you're all over the place. Anyway,
you're all over the place. Though, and just to finish that off, if you want to go and fight, say you do want to go fight Grusha immediately. Say that's the playthrough you want to do. You want to do the gyms in reverse order. Well, none of your Pokemon are going to listen to you at that level, because for some reason they changed how Pokemon obedience works.
Yeah,
which I think is silly.
Yeah, because okay, so for people that might not know this, because I only discovered this in the last couple of years, I always thought that in games, if you caught a Pokemon and then leveled it up past the level cap of whatever that badge you had, then it would stop obeying you. That isn't what actually happens. What happens in the older generations is that it's for traded Pokemon only, or caught above that level. So if you caught a level 5 Pokemon, or you got your starter, and you leveled it up to 100 before you took on Brock, it would still completely listen to you because you're the original trainer. It'd work absolutely fine. But if you traded in a Pokemon, or in Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, you traded in a higher level Pokemon than the level cap, it would just flat out refuse you. But what they did in Gen 9, if I'm correct, is they changed that, right? So
so basically anything you catch or anything that goes above the level curve just goes nah.
Which is strange that they changed that, because,
and I might be wrong, it might be a case of only if you catch them at a higher level than you have available, you might still be able to train them to that high level. I don't remember distinctly, but yeah, it's still an odd one.
It's very odd, but this is Game Freak just doing what Game Freak does of they change things, but we don't know the reason why. So, for example, me shiny hunting, there is no shiny pop-up or noise until you actually get into that fight in Scarlet and Violet. It's a bizarre decision. That's what they do. Let's move on to some of the other things that we had this year. One of the more recent ones, which I know you've not finished, but Paldean Wins.
Yes, I've missed the last episode, unfortunately, which apparently includes Blueberry Academy in it. It was supposed to be a kickoff to Blueberry Academy.
You know what? I've just realized I've not watched that. I've not watched episode 4. Completely forgot about it. Yes, I've not. I was like, yeah, I was so confident coming into this recording. Yeah, I've watched them all. And then I thought back to when we had the conversation when we reviewed episode 3 and we had the discussion. Oh, do we think that's it? It's
we should cover that this week, and then we didn't cover it because my pup was ill.
That was it. Oh yeah. That was the week that we had to have off, so we never actually got round to episode 4, Paldean Wins. But based on the 3 episodes we did see, I thought it was very enjoyable. It was, and I still maintain what I've said through these little weird, odd little YouTube series that they have. Is I'm glad they're not just doing the safe option of let's just do the anime, let's just do a trainer. They mix up like Hisuian Snow,
Hisuian Snow, Twilight Wings. I would still argue that those 2 are better.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a really weird statement. I think the school setting brought the maturity level down.
I can understand that, yes.
So the anime has always been a little bit more immature. Although apparently the Horizons is, and from what I saw of Horizons, it was really, really good. And had much more mature themes in it, and just older characters in general, having older character stories. But I used to really enjoy Twilight Wings because you focused on the gym leaders, you focused on like Rose and things like that. So you got to see characters we knew doing things we didn't get to see them do because we only met them during our part of the journey. We got to see them doing what they do away from the main story. And Hisuian Snow was just phenomenal as a prequel to Legends of Arceus. What a show.
I am glad that I know that we can talk all day about Game Freak it's willing to take little risks, but it never goes whole hog. But the anime side of the Pokemon company feels very much a case of, oh, that's what you want to do? Okay, right, go for it. We can just put it on YouTube. It's absolutely fine. And the fact that they are willing to just try all these quirky new adventures with characters that we've never seen or heard of before and likely will never see or hear from again, it's fantastic. And I would love to see more of that in 2024. Now, I don't always have as much time as I want to watch anime and keep up with anime. There are so many shows that I've fallen behind on simply because I just don't have the time to just keep up with them, because it does become quite time consuming. You have to kind of pick your fights of, okay, I'll watch that show, I'll watch that movie, I'll watch that anime, and then I might get round to the rest of them at some point. But it's one of the things that I admire about these smaller shows is typically they are, if you've got a spare hour and a half to 2 hours, you can binge the entire series.
You can do the whole series.
I love that. I absolutely love that, and I would love to see more of it.
Similar to Path to the Peak we got as well this year, which was the TCG one. Very different animated style. Yeah, looked more like the characters we used to see in Pokemon TCG.
The original,
not Live. Live is a new one. Did we get Live? Live came out this year as well.
I've still not got round to. I have got so many of these cards. Redeem them online, which I hope I can do because it says Pokemon TCG Live on the back. TCG Live's the new one, right? So
it's the new one, yeah. And even PTCGO cards will still work.
Okay, I just need to do that. I've got. Have I ever told you how many I've got of these things? I've got like
hundreds, probably
250 to 300 that I just need to redeem at some point. I just need to sit down and do it. And I know they've got the QR code, but I could never get that working. And I'm not typing out. No, but that was on. That was on TCG Live.
Oh,
online. Oh, TCG Online. This is the confusing thing. They're both mean online, so I don't know which one's which. Like so. Confuses me. But yes, the Path to the Peak, the animation style was absolutely gorgeous. I would like to see another series of that, but I know one of your criticisms, and like thinking back, I do agree with this, we can use the TCG as kind of a way to tell the story, but would have liked more about the actual rules. and mechanics being implemented, which we
and like
really
the
get.
thought process that goes into building around the meta and the thought what goes into that. I mean, they had the trading aspect, they had the friendships that you make along the way, they had the rivals to friends.
Yeah.
The base story was really good.
Yeah.
As I say, I just think the actual card game aspect of it, I was like, meh, I could have been better.
No, I do agree with that, and it is a shame. Again, another one of those series where if they never do anything, I'm happy with what we got, but there's an opportunity there to develop it and do something else. Speaking of TCG, Pokemon TCG Classic. For those of you who don't remember, this was a limited edition run that included Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur cards from the original set, so that's Shiny Charizard, and it sold out within moments of going live.
They created decks around each of them, modernized the rule sets of them, but gave it that classic look and had this really fancy board, this really cool randomization mechanic, and there was really nice damage counters and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was way too expensive for my blood, and it's gone now, so it's even more expensive.
You're never going to get it unless you are willing to pay over the odds to a scalper, which you shouldn't. But it's your money. Do whatever you want with, but you shouldn't. Which is
don't pay scalpers and don't pre-order. That's if you take nothing away from this show, at least take away that.
Yes, definitely. Which is again. Pokemon TCG is one of these things. So my daughter had a bit of money for Christmas and bought herself some Pokemon TCG cards, and my family bought her some for Christmas as well. And the artwork's absolutely gorgeous. It's fantastic. But it's such a money sink that I would love to do more of the TCG stuff, but I've only got so much disposable income. I can't keep up with 4 sets released every year. It's just impossible, and I want to buy more TCG cards, but I can't. I am starting to think that maybe online TCG is where I go, because you can do the whole, you can not grind down the Pokemon, but you build up coins or whatever if you have multiples.
You get dusting's not the right word, but that's what it used to be on
Hearthstone.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Hearthstone you used to dust. Now it's a case of when you open packs, if you have more than 4 of a kind of anything, it just gets converted into spendable gems, income, something. One of the above.
See, that's I think what I need to do actually is just get all these cards one day and just scan them all and then maybe build a deck, and then I can go online, I hope, because I have tried to enter it back when it was Pokemon TCG online. Yes.
Yep.
I remember I entered a competition just with a box and the base set that I bought from, and I got absolutely, someone just threw out some version of Crobat, I think, that was whatever the big shiny ones are that
Crobat draw up to 6.
Yeah, it does 320 damage or something ridiculous. I'm like, oh, okay, right, yeah. I can't win this. I just flat cannot win this unless the other person throws. But I do want to get into more TCG next year. I don't know if there's anything coming up next year around TCG outside of obviously we'll get new sets as we always do. We'll get competitions as we always do. I'm just wondering if they'll do anything with live. Are they going to bring us something new fancy? I still need to jump onto live and have a go of it.
Well, I know we're still waiting for A-Spec cards to come out. That was revealed to us at Worlds. So A-Spec card, a special kind of trainer card. You can only have one of them in your deck because they're just that powerful. They were revealed to us alongside the future and past Paradox Pokemon at Worlds. We've yet to see them, so we know that's coming soon.
Very nice. And Pokemon World Championships. We had them this year in Japan, right?
In Japan for the first time ever. It was a good show. It was a very, very good show. Great opening, great closer, you would expect.
I'm thinking back to that, and they put on loads of events for people that were in attendance. They went the whole hog. There was a cruise ship, wasn't there? You can stay on a cruise ship that they decorated, Pokemon themed. say what you want about. I think you can separate Game Freak from the Pokemon company, but what the Pokemon company does when they want to go all out is absolutely phenomenal. They can put on an event like nobody's business. And as someone that only got into Worlds over the last couple of years, again, looking forward to next year and seeing what the competition brings, especially now that I think one of my criticisms of the competitions this year has been that we've just seen a lot of the same meta of the same Pokemon coming through. Now, next year, I'm hoping with the introduction of more Pokemon into Generation 9, we're going to see completely different teams mixing things up.
Possibly.
Possibly. Fingers crossed. We'll probably just got the same Pokemon coming through. Stalactite,
no, I think
Terrapagos or
no,
whatever.
I think there's enough coming through because you've got Ursaluna is going to be a big shakeup and is going to have to be countered by something. You're right, Terrapagos, if it's legal, will I don't know if it will define the meta. It might not actually be that great.
I think you might see it once or twice in like a stall team of some variety. But
much in the same as the stellar typing, it doesn't feel as meta defining as it maybe should have done.
No, it doesn't.
Because you're only getting that one a hit, realistically. So think about, say, Fluttermane, a Pokemon that really heavily used its Terra typing for offensive, which is the only way to use the stellar typing. You can't use it defensively.
No, you can't.
Well, Fluttermane would tear it into the fairy typing and would just click Moonblast. But it would choice specs itself into Moonblast. So it would never ever run the stellar typing because it would only get that boost on the first one.
No, I see what you're saying. I think the Stalactite, I think it's one of them that where we might see every now and again because someone's thought of a workaround of, before I terrestrialize into the stellar typing, I've boosted my Mon to the point where I only need to click 3 moves to ideally win this fight because I've got diversity across those moves. So, okay, well, if you want to send out, a Moongus and something else, well, I've got a typing that I can use that star, whatever, for hit both of them. Super effective.
But I just feel that it's going to be a case of it's going to be too easy to play around.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think,
we're not competitive players. We might be
We're
wrong.
not. No. We might be. I still maintain, who knows, maybe, like, when we had a Pachirisu that won Worlds or whatever it was that one time, I still think there'll be that one player that goes, I can play this in a really creative way, and 99 times out of 100, probably not going to work, but that one is going to look really good when I'm up on that screen. What else have we had this year? We said farewell to Ash Ketchum. Gone. Done. Dusted from the anime forever.
People still wondering if he's going to come back. People still thinking he's going to show up in Horizons. We have had it definitely confirmed to us that he is not the father of Liko.
Yeah.
We have met her dad. It's not Ash.
No.
Thank God.
I know, right? Could you imagine? I still maintain we will get more Ash in the future, but
movies in that spin-off world.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, good point, actually. I choose you.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, where it was just a reimagining of Ash's journey from Pallet Town. Again, I can see Ash coming back one day as an older person, either a father figure or some kind of tutor or something like that. I'm happy to just let him rest for now. He's done his time. Let him rest, and then I'm always of the mindset with, and this isn't just Pokemon, this is just stories in general. If there's no good story to tell, don't bring a character back. Just let them rest. Mm-hmm. But if you've got a story that you can tell with that character that's creative, innovative, new, whatever it might be, I am happy to bring it back, bring that character back so long as it's done well. I don't want,
Horizon seems to be looking a lot further backwards than Ash. We're talking about like super ancient Pokemon and collectors and all this kind of stuff. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this. We'll talk more about this in a bit when we look forward to next year. We had Pokemon Sleep released this year after, what was it, 5-7 years? Something
Something ridiculous. Yeah,
ridiculous. It finally came. Maybe the developers were just asleep. I don't know. I still haven't got round to Pokemon Sleep, despite the fact I was saying it's still installed on my phone. I just haven't got round to like doing it. It's just the thought of having to leave it on, and I don't leave it on my bed. I leave it on a bedside cabinet, so I don't know how useful it would be. And again, it's just another app that I don't want another app where I'm having to log in daily to claim your bonuses. Like, I do that with Pokemon Go, and I enjoy it. There's a handful of the games where I might dip in and out, but for the most part, my phone isn't a gaming console. I don't want to be having to log in and do stuff on the daily, which I think is what is putting me off sleep at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked in it, and it was a case of you have to leave the app open, and that's it. Like, I use my phone to have videos on in the background. Like, that's how I go to sleep. I'm one of those people who needs sound in the background. So I don't have a TV in my room. I use my phone. I can't also have Pokemon Sleep running at the same time, so it doesn't work for me. Plus, the other thing as well is I've read from a couple of people, it's a case of, I wake up and it told me I had a really bad sleep. So now I feel bad.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, you could have had the best sleep ever. You could feel really relaxed, but you've now looked at a machine that goes, no, your sleep was really bad. And suddenly it makes you feel worse.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. Pokemon Sleep, again, Pokemon Sleep's one of those weird ones where I actually saw an article this week saying how long realistically do they think Pokemon Go can keep going? And I was just thinking to myself, out of all the apps that we've had for Pokemon Go is the one that I can still see going for much longer than Sleep. It's already beaten out Pokemon Quest, which was done and dusted. Its closest competitor is probably Pokemon Unite, but again, that's also on Switch, so it's muddying the water a little bit. But Pokemon Sleep is one of those where I just don't see long term being viable. And did they just release it because it was like, no, we finally finished the product. We've been saying it for a while. Let's just get it out there. And then we can slowly pull it at some point. And I don't think most people will notice. Maybe I'm wrong.
Interesting. I mean, they've got Masters and Cafe Remix and things still going strong. So
Pokemon Masters is when I upgraded my phone about 3 months ago. I had to cut out Pokemon Masters because it drains it's fun, but it absolutely destroys your phone's battery to the point where I sent off my old phone to get repaired, thinking it's just the battery, only for Apple to turn around and go, no, like the whole system's completely fried on this thing. And I still maintain Pokemon Masters did it because of all the grinding that you have to do on it. The battery gets absolutely killed. Listen, this is all circumstantial evidence, folks. I have no idea if this is a thing, but there's no coincidence that I've had
this
two
man's
phones.
About to get the podcast sued.
I know. There's no coincidence I've had two Apple phones that have both I've had to replace because of the battery about 3 months after playing Pokemon Masters. Again, might be completely wrong, okay? And my views are not the views of the podcast. Just want to point that out there, despite me being a host on the podcast. But again, Pokemon Masters, yeah, that is probably going to go on for a while because if you want to, and I've part of one of the things I would love to see Pokemon do more in the mainline games is, let's pull some of these older characters into newer games and have them interact like we kind of got with a lot of Gen 9. You can bring in those characters to have those interactions. Pokemon Masters is kind of the de facto place to do that. If you want to see characters' stories continue and characters interact, you've got to go to Pokemon Masters because that seems to be where Pokemon Company's kind of going, yeah, this is where all that lore stuff is. You go have fun
with them.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of Pokemon Go this year, they cut a quarter of their workforce. I play Pokemon Go daily. I've not noticed a difference. So maybe that cutting of the workforce was literally just people that, you were brought in to do a specific task or job. You've done it. See you later. Maybe Pokemon Go.
I think we did say at the time as well that was Niantic cutting quarter of its workforce, not necessarily the Pokemon Go team.
That was it. Yes. Because Pokemon Go this year seems to have just gone, for me at least. I know you have, you're not a huge fan of it because it is very much if you're not willing to go out and about a lot and pay a lot, it's very limited what you can do. It's some way that's quite.
It's another battery drain.
It is another battery drain.
It just drains my battery if I'm out and about.
Yeah. It doesn't do it as much to mine, but mine is like a brand new iPhone, which I think is fine for now. But I know in older models of iPhones, I have struggled with Pokemon Go and the battery life issues. I think Pokemon Go is starting to resolve a lot of the issues for me around raiding. They bought out another company that basically there's now a button on Pokemon Go that you click and it brings up a map of here are all the raids going on in the world. You can click on it. You can then I think it's called light a flare. So to let people know, oh yeah, I'm thinking of doing this. Anyone else interested? Okay. You can chat and you can basically buddy up with people now so you can host a raid. And then if other people are online just trying to join a raid, it will pull them into your raid. They still have to use remote raid passes, which isn't ideal, but it's a step in the right direction. As someone that was struggled with raids for so long because I was in a rural area, the fact I can now do that is fantastic. Is Niantic still, money hungry for Pokemon Go? Yes, that's not going to change. The fact that Christmas has just come and gone and you had to pay to get free incubators, where in previous years it was, it's Christmas, let's give you some free incubators. Now you've got to pay about, I think it's $4.99, and you've got to spin a disc every single day. I know my limit with Pokemon Go. I'm happy to spend a couple of quid here and there, stuff like that. Now, sorry, still enjoyable.
And wasn't this year the year that we saw the remote raid passes take a nosedive as well?
Yeah, so the prices went up and the amount that you could remote raid each day went down. So I think you can do a maximum of 5 a day, and it's 595 coins for 3 remote raid passes. I forgot about that. You know what? Don't support Pokemon Go. Don't do it. Again,
Ben does not represent the podcast.
I still maintain I have a lot of fun with Pokemon Go for what it is, but it's one of those I can just put down. Like if I'm going out for a walk, I'll pop it up. I might put Pokemon in the gym, might spin a disc, but there are days where I just do not touch it. I'm not one of those people that I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna go out and do Pokemon Go now. No, I'm not that kind of person. I've enjoyed it a lot more since my daughter started playing it and we can go out together because there's that bonding element and being able to do raids together and helping her to get some Pokemon. She's starting from a complete clean Pokedex and helping her to build that up and do some of the raids and stuff. It's absolutely fantastic. But Pokemon Go still has its issues, and no doubt will still have its issues next year when they host Go Safari, wherever it is, like they did this year, and they still have issues of, people can't log in, people aren't allowed in, whatever those issues might be. Also this year, even though it's not Pokemon Company, it is still impacts Pokemon Company. Nintendo server closures for, was it 3DS and the Wii?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
it was.
That's happened, which is, again...
Pokemon Bank is gone. If you want to try and get a new version, you can't.
If you've still got it, so you can still use it, though, because I'm still using it for shiny hunting the Ultra Wormholes in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So you can still use it to push Pokemon to Pokemon Home. However, next year, will that still be the case?
We have had a soft recommendation so far to be like, hey, you might want to move your stuff to home just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Not that anything would happen, but it might happen.
Because we'd definitely tell you if anything was going to happen. We promised you it would stick on for at least a while, but yeah, I wouldn't trust us if I were you. It's basically what they said.
Honestly, it would not surprise me if one day I wake up, I go to load it up, and it's like, no, Pokemon Bank won't connect. I'm like, okay, why not? And then that's when I do the digging, and it's like, Pokemon Company, Game Freak, Nintendo, whoever has released something, and then there's a little snippet, there's a little line in there that goes, "This will affect Pokemon Bank."
To be fair, the level of community out there now on Twitter, Sarah B. Joe would never ever let the community miss that we will be well ahead of that news.
I like to think so.
And you can keep up with that here on the podcast. So subscribe if you're not.
Do it. But I just want to point out this out, actually, on Twitter or X, I am caught up in Cerebi Joe's algorithm now. Like, anytime he tweets, I get push
his recommendations?
Yeah, I get push notification, which, you know what, in terms of whenever we come onto the podcast and we're like, okay, what are we thinking of doing this week? And, you know, typically we'll search for Pokemon under news on Google.
News.
Or, like, the fact that I've now got Cerebi Joe and his push notifications come to me makes it so much easier, because I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to want to discuss that this week, right? Okay, forward it onto our Discord chat. Yeah, we'll pick that up. It makes it so much easier. And the fact that he knows so much stuff, is on top of so much stuff, is like credit to him for having that knowledge and everything. What else have we had this year? I've only got one thing left. Pokemon
Detective
Concierge.
Pikachu.
Oh, Detective Pikachu. That's the other one.
We haven't played it yet.
No, I haven't played it yet. It's on my to-do list next year. I want to play it. Because I really do want to. As someone that missed out on the original Detective Pikachu, but knows enough about it and really enjoyed the movie, not that I can remember a lot about it, I do want to play the Switch version and I just want to know what it's all about, see if I enjoy it.
Yeah. I am happy to watch it, I think, rather than play it. It's one of those for me.
I get that. And then Pokemon Concierge, which comes out tomorrow as of recording this, yesterday as of listening to this, if you're listening to it on release date, which you should do, because that's the best day to listen to it, and it helps the algorithm and all that. But Pokemon Concierge, again, it's another animation. It's stop motion, released on Netflix, follows Psyduck and a person that I can't remember their name, who runs a concierge desk at a hotel. And it looks to me like it's just going to be a silly good time, like old Wallace and Gromit. That's what I imagine.
It looks like it's going to be really sweet.
Yes.
I think is the way to describe it.
Yep. So I'm looking forward to that. All in all, though, it's weird, actually, because we do this week in, week out. And yet, when you look back, you just realize, how much actually happens in the world of Pokemon. How much content is constantly coming out.
We definitely miss stuff.
Oh, yeah, agreed. Like, we only lightly touch on TCG, Pokemon Go, Masters and stuff. We are predominantly, it's the anime in the mainline games. Like, which is one of the great things about Pokemon, is if you wanted a podcast that only did Pokemon Go or Pokemon Masters, you could easily do it, because there's an audience that only plays that section or watches, that part of Pokemon. But the amount we have covered this year, actually, like, kudos to us for like covering all this and bringing it to people.
Yeah, we're kind of awesome.
Give ourselves tap on the back and all that, and it's free as well. Enjoy next year.
For now.
Let's look ahead to next year. Now we're the bad guys, because we're like Pokemon Bank and Nintendo. Good. Give us your money. Anyway, next year we've got the epilogue coming for Scarlet and Violet. So that drops in January. And we're getting... This actually kind of explains why we didn't get Nimona, Arvin, and Penny in Kitakami coming with us, because they are now coming with us, the epilogue. Do you think... Okay, so I can see Connor's face working here, so I'm going to ask him a question. I'm going to give him a prompt. Is this just a way for them to extend the life of Scarlet and Violet as much as they can, or do you think they've done this as a almost apology for maybe some of the fans that have been a bit more, voicing their opinions about issues with the baseline game and the fact that we didn't get to see those characters again after the base game?
I don't know if it's any of those specifically. To me, this kind of feels like they've finally taken on board our requests from the last couple of years of make mythical Pokemon special again.
Yeah.
Because that's what this epilogue is about. As far as I'm aware, it's the mythical Pokemon, right? It's about...
Yes, because the trailer zooms in on it, doesn't it? In the shop. Yes. You're right. I forgot about that.
A game that's had such amazing character writing, I think it is the standout part of this game is the character writing.
Agreed.
Is now going to bring back all of our main cast from Paldea, our two main casts from the DLC, blend them together, which is going to be great seeing those interact.
Yes.
Like Penny and Kieran, I think are going to be fantastic together, and I can't wait for Demona to bug the hell out of Carmine. It's like I just think it's going to be so good.
Yeah,
and I'm just really, really looking forward to it and have a good story around a mythical again.
Yes,
I say a good story. I am assuming it's going to be a good story. We've got a story.
We got a story,
more than we
which
got
is
for
more
anything from like Heatran.
Yes, exactly. The fact that they are giving us something, because what they could like, and this is where like there are people that rip into Game Freak for some of the decisions they make. Sometimes I think rightly so. Sometimes I think I just want an excuse to rant at Game Freak. Game Freak didn't need to do this epilogue. They flat out didn't. They have actually invested time and resource into crafting us an epilogue. Do we know if that epilogue's going to be good? No. It could flat out literally be, a 1 hour story with a couple of cutscenes, a battle, and that's it. But like Conor says, that's more than we have had for Victini, for Caldeo. Like, Caldeo is one of the Swords of Justice, and we got nothing. Did we get something for that?
Caldeo, I think, got a little something.
A little something.
I think it was one of the last ones that got something.
Okay.
Caldeo and Genesect, really.
Yes.
Were the last ones. And it wasn't massive for Genesect. I think it was literally going to a different room in the Team Plasma hideout.
Exactly, like those things, they're nothing's like the fact that they're doing
Whereas
this.
Diancie was just a release. It was just here, have a thing.
Yeah. The fact that we have like a trailer with, 3 of the main characters from the previous game, like that speaks to me that they've gone, okay, it's not just a distribution event, it is some kind of story-driven element, and I cannot wait to play that or experience it. I'm really looking forward to it. Also, I did see a funny comment the other day on Reddit that said Nimona in Scarlet and Violet is basically playing New Game Plus. And I was like, actually, yeah, that's a real... Because she's already...
I see it.
Yeah, I was like, that's so clever, actually. Anyway, so we get the epilogue in January. Will that be a full review episode? I don't know. It depends on what there is there. I imagine it'll take up the majority of an episode because I'm just looking forward to experience these characters again. And the more than the mythical, the question I have is, are we going to touch on the conversation with Arven's dad with Arven? That's the thing that I want to know, and I don't think we are, but...
No, because again, I'm pretty sure after that you can go and meet Arven and give him the book.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's really important to me. Can I have it? It's like, yeah, here you go. Never tell him where you got it from.
No, nothing whatsoever. That's such a shame. I'll be interested to see what happens. This epilogue, the more we've spoken about Scarlet and Violet and the DLC, it's really annoying actually, because I had so many issues with the base game of Scarlet and Violet, but playing the last piece of DLC has left like a really good taste in my mouth, and I'm like, oh yeah, actually kind of enjoyed Scarlet and Violet as a whole.
Well, that's what we always said, was the DLC may well redeem it. I'm gonna hold off that statement just for now.
Yeah.
I think the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna do what I said earlier and replay the game.
Yeah.
With Kid Akami in the middle, Blueberry Academy at the end, and then do that on the build up to the epilogue and play the epilogue right after finishing Blueberry Academy.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. To the point where, like, and I'm not going to do this, but part of me thinks, oh yeah, if I get Pokemon Scarlet, because I played Violet, and I'll do it with Scarlet, but then you have to buy the DLC.
You'll have to buy the DLC again, which is disgusting behavior.
I'm not doing it. I might start another playthrough on Violet at some point, import all the Pokemon in from Pokemon Home, so I get a Shiny Charm straight at the start, and then use it as an opportunity to Shiny Hunt while I play through the game. Who knows? Maybe. We'll see. But I would like to do a episode a year down the line of Scarlet and Violet, a year on, 2 years on, something like that, once we've had chance to take our time with it again, enjoy it, and figure it out.
Let the nostalgia set in a little bit, which it always does. And people can argue until the cows come home that, like, no, I always liked this game. I mean, I did always like Sword and Shield. We will sit here and say, like, we always liked Sword and Shield. We're not going to pretend that that's a new thing. Gen 5, I think we both agreed we didn't touch when it first came out.
Now one of our favorites.
Since then, we've played it and realized it's amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
You know, Gen 3, I didn't like. Oras, I much prefer. And Emerald, I didn't play till much later in my life. I think it does make Ruby and Sapphire better. So I don't think our opinions changed that much.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I put fire. I put red and blue in our lowest tier.
I forgot about the
tier list. So I think that says all you need to say about like nostalgia blindness when it comes to us. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reviewing it again later. A little bit of time away from it.
Agreed. Also next year, Pokemon Horizons. We will get more of that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the Paradox Pokemon in that series. Because the Paradox Pokemon, I think were a nice introduction, in a nice inclusion to the lore of Gen 9. I wish they'd have done more with Paradox Pokemon, especially, you know, the Swords of Justice trio and the Legendary Beast. I would have loved more. Again, and the anime seems to give... It has the freedom to be able to explore and give life to these Pokemon. So from what Conor said, but what I've read online, Horizon seems to be really strong, or at least starting really strong. I'm looking forward to watching Horizons and seeing where they go with the story of Paradox Pokemon, Terapagos.
Okay.
You go on.
Finish your thought. All right. So I've just had a really interesting thought. Like, I don't think Horizons has touched on Paradox Pokemon yet.
Okay.
But I think it might be better if they don't, and the Paradox Pokemon just become part of a movie with Ash. As world champion, hey, there's some funky stuff going on down here.
Go ahead
and check it out.
Oh, that would be
as one of the most powerful people in the world. And then you bring Steven back because he gets to investigate all the stones down there. You bring Cynthia back just because everybody loves Cynthia.
Yeah. Interesting. That would be a cool little trio movie. These three down there explore, and then you could dive into the backstory of the professor. And ooh, that would be nice. What else have we got coming up next year? Anything? Are we getting a game?
Nothing announced, I don't think. Are we getting a game? Right. Heads, you've got to argue that we're not getting a game.
Okay, let's do this. We're doing this live.
It's Tails, which means I've got to argue that we're not getting a game.
Okay.
Right, we shouldn't get a game. Definitely shouldn't get a game because, you know, we're getting the epilogue of the DLC. Now, that's going to hold people over maybe for a month or two. But we could quite easily see spin-off games from other companies. You know, could have a new Pinball, we could have a new Snap, we could have a new Mystery Dungeon, give the Mystery Dungeon fans a new game, please. They keep shouting at us and nobody will shut them up. At them. So we could easily see a spin-off game from a different company, and it means that, you know, I really hope that the epilogue, the reason the DLC has been stretched out and the reason we're now getting the epilogue is because they're trying to go, right, do as much as you can with what we got. We don't want to be looking into anything new yet. I think 2025 would be great to get a Legends game. And what did we say? What's the 30th year?
It's
26,
3 years
27?
from... so it was 22
no, it's 4 years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
4 years from last year, so 3 years from
2026.
This year.
2026.
So if next year we get nothing, 2025 we get a Legends game.
Yep.
And then the 30th anniversary we get Gen 10. Or we hand off the Gen 5 sequel remake. Please don't do a Gen 5 remake. Please. The Gen 5 sequel, I'm gonna put it out into the universe. We hand off the Gen 5 sequel to someone else, like we did with Ilka and BDSP. That comes out next year. Means Game Freak aren't working on it. Means they've got more time to work on the other stuff. We've got the B team working on Legends Arceus for the year after that. And then all hands on deck for Gen 10.
Okay. You've caught me on a little bit of a technicality there, because that means that Game Freak don't need to release a game this year because Ilka can release, or some other company can release it. But Conor, what I'm going to argue on that point is that Game Freak should release a new game this year, not Ilka and or another company, because look what happened with BDSP. It had a lukewarm reception because it was basically just a new coat of paint over what came before. So, I'm going to rule that out for this year, that we don't want that. And a spin-off game doesn't quite scratch the same itch as a mainline game or a Legends game. And because of that, that means that in 2024, outside of the epilogue, which will introduce likely one more mythical, and that is it, we are getting nothing next year. We're getting no new Pokemon, no new Pokemon game, no new characters, adventures, nothing from a mainline game or a Legends style game. I don't think we can last that long, because the problem then is that what have you got to give people to tide them over? Raids in Generation 9? Shiny hunting? What kind of loser would shiny hunt? I don't know. All the full baby? I don't know. Next year, in 2024, we need a new game with new Pokemon and new experience to tide us over. Game Freak should definitely release a new game in 2024. It doesn't need to be in February or January of 2024. No, we've got enough content to tide us over until the end of 2024. So I'm calling it now. November, we're getting a Legends game.
So I'm just going to remind you that Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is the best-selling remake Pokemon have ever done.
For now.
So there's your lukewarm reception.
Hold on, I didn't say sales. I said reception. Sales and reception are different.
No. Scarlet and Violet had a lukewarm reception. Still sold 23 million copies.
I know, right?
Nobody cares about the reception.
No, they don't.
Or, I rephrase that. We're taking on board that people are talking about this and conversations are being had. And that's it. They're having conversations about taking more time. So why wouldn't they go, right, people have said it over and over and over again. If we really want to take this on board, let's just take a year. We've just sold better than we have done in years with Scarlet and Violet. The DLC is probably making the money and will continue to make the money over the year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The Switch is also coming to its end. One way or another. We know there's a Switch 2 coming. Or another console from Nintendo. That's pretty much confirmed at this point. Game Freak need all the help they can get when it comes to new consoles. We've seen that. So I think just give a year off. We don't need a Pokemon game every year. We didn't used to have a Pokemon game every year. It's only in recent years that we've done this and they've been cranking out. But Horizons is so far behind the games. Like, we've just finished our first season and they don't even really seem to be focused on the games at all anymore. You got the starter trio and that's kind of it. I mean, the Ceruledge is in there as well. But other than that, it's like, Paldea's not really that big of a part of it. So the anime doesn't need it. Pokemon Go is only really just caught up now with all the Pokemon available. And Pokemon Go has already shown that they can comfortably introduce their own Pokemon and everybody will just go with it. Masters EX has so many characters from so many generations and a billion different outfits they can put each one of them in. I don't think we need a new game the same way as we maybe thought we did in prior years. So take the time, build something better, and hey, even if you don't hand off to someone like Ilka, we could just have a year off. And you know what? There's other games out there, people. And Pokemon, it ain't going anywhere. For me and you, sure, we play the story, but people play competitive. People play competitive, and that doesn't change. That's not going to change for years. That's not going to change until Gen 10. So that works. There's no reason we couldn't have mythicals in the same game released. You know, we've only had Petrarunt released, announced to us now, but we could easily have more mythicals introduced over the year to give us something to come back to. There's going to be events. There's going to be raids. There's going to be a lot to keep people coming back to these games for at least a year.
But Game Freak needs its money. Pokemon Company needs its money. But no, I maintain that, yes, we've got loads of... You've just mentioned a swath, an absolutely astounding amount of content that we've got to tide us over. None of them introduce new Pokemon. Them introduce new characters in the games.
I just said mythical Pokemon and Pokemon Go can introduce new Pokemon. I literally addressed that topic. How dare you argue a point that I didn't make?
Pokemon Go is a Game Freak. Sir.
Straw man argument. Sit down, sir.
No, but seriously, Game Freak should not release any new games next year. There are a variety of other mediums that they can introduce characters, content, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm completely on board. They should not release a game next year. Even November of next year even though then it would be a year away from Scarlet and Violet, it's still too soon. It is still too soon.
Would you take another DLC?
Yes, I would. And only because the last piece of DLC...
Would you play another £30 for another DLC?
Single DLC
would you accept
or two? So, like, split into two?
Either or.
Either or. Okay.
Let's
would.
accept that whether it comes in one part or two, it should be at least the length of what you've already paid for.
Yes, I would. I would. And because Teal Mask, I was met on it, but I think the reason why I was met on it because I rushed through it. I imported all my Pokemon from Pokemon Home, so I didn't get that catching, didn't get to go out and explore and catch. And I think that the Teal Mask is heightened by seeing the end of the story for Carmine and Kieran. I think the DLC as a whole was a really positive experience. And because of that, yes, I would happily experience another piece of DLC to tide me over with a handful of new characters, handful of new Pokemon. That's all I need. I would much rather every year they bring out a smaller piece of DLC than every 3 years we get, look at all these new Pokemon, look at all these new characters, we've done it again, brand new everything. I would much rather, medium-sized, new everything, and then smaller chunks just to tide me over. I prefer that as a play style, personally, of I can dip in for a bit, enjoy it, and then back out and come back again.
See, that would also mean that you've spent £120 on a game that barely functions.
True.
Which is the counter argument to it, is a case of, would you rather a DLC for this game that's got as many problems as it has, which, as much as the DLC has elevated the games, Scarlet and Violet still has the Scarlet and Violet issues. Whereas if they release something new, theoretically it could be a better game, but I think we all know it wouldn't.
What will happen? But a lot of the issues that you have in the base game of Scarlet and Violet aren't as prevalent or even there in the PCL DLC because they take place in a brand new area that they build from scratch. Like, don't get me wrong, the raids are still an issue. I will never enjoy the raids because they are so clunky and thrown together, but other elements have improved with the DLCs. Like, as I spoke about in the last piece of DLC, because I predominantly played on handheld, which I think is the best way to play these games. And
I think we said that when the originals came out as well.
And it shouldn't be, but handhelds is definitely the best way to play this because there's less graphical issues. The second piece of DLC just felt like a more lived-in, realistic world, which blows my mind considering the Blueberry Academy is a fake place that's been built for these Pokemon. So quite ironic. But I still think that, yes, if they offered me a piece of DLC and it was, we're now going off to explore Southern Kalos, we're going off to explore Northern Johto, whatever, however they want to do that, and it's its own self-contained thing away from Paldea, I'd pay for that. If, however, they turned around and said, "Oh no, this piece of DLC takes place solely in Paldea, and it's just a new extra couple of things on the map," I don't think I would pay for that because, again, I'm back in Paldea, which is empty, flat, lifeless, broken. It depends on where it'd be. To answer your question as to whether or not I'd pay for it.
I will be excited in the far future to see a Scarlet Violet remake. And hope that they address a lot of the issues we had, not even just the, gameplay bugs and things like that, but as you just mentioned, the world feeling empty.
It is crazy.
10, 15 years from now, it could be really cool to see it again.
It is crazy to think about that. That's where we're at they didn't get it right the first time, but they'll get it right the second time, even though technically they're now at the 9th time because they've done more than the 9th time because they've done remakes as well and Legends spin-offs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that is where we're at. In terms of whether or not... Okay, so let's wrap up Devil's Advocate. Do you think we are getting a new game next year that is likely to be announced at Pokemon Day in February?
I sincerely hope not.
Agreed.
But I think we will? Possibly.
Yeah, I think we'll get I know, and it's annoying really because our podcasts, the episodes that do well are the review episodes. I mean, they all do well, but the ones that spike, at least on the podcast side, don't know about the YouTube side, are the review episodes. So I would love another game because it gives us a chance to reach new people and talk about our experience. But from a consumer point of view, take a year off, take a breather, think about it. Think about what you want to accomplish with the next game. Have that opportunity. And I think this is possibly where Game Freak goes wrong, is because they are constantly on that churn of, I've got to release more new content, whatever it might be. They don't take the time to stop and think what works for the previous game, the DLC, whatever it might be. Because by the time a game is released, they're already into the at least planning,
production.
If not production, of the next game. Hence why elements from Legends Arceus didn't come over to Scarlet and Violet, because by the time Scarlet and Violet was out, it was like, oh yeah, we've already done this. And the same thing happened with Sword and Shield. The wild area wasn't meant to have, the game wasn't meant to have overworld Pokemon. And it's only because Let's Go did that so well, and then Sword and Shield are like, oh, we got to implement. But we're already in this phase. And I think that's where Game Freak's problem is if they slowed it down and actually went, okay, let's take some time to reflect on the previous generation. What did the fans like? What did the reviewers like? What's the data telling us? Are people even bothered about doing raids? Because they'll have the numbers for the amount of raids that are being done.
Oh, yeah.
So, things like that, they have that data and knowledge. But the problem is that because they're in such a rush, they don't have the time to reflect on it. So Game Freak, take the year off. And not even take a year off, because they won't be taking the year off. They just won't be producing, or at least they won't. No, actually, that's wrong. They won't be releasing.
Yeah, they'll be working in the background.
Yes. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. Absolutely fine with that. And again, I'm still the mindset that Gen 10 should tie in with 30 years, which means an extra year development time.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think it would be silly not to. Otherwise, we end up with something like Sun and Moon, where X and Y just doesn't get finished.
Yeah, which still blows my mind. You know what? Everyone talks about Gen 5. I don't need a Gen 5 remake. I really don't. Gen 5 is such a strong game. The sequel, I've only played once. Strong game. X and Y, though, a remake for X and Y, that I'm interested in because I know there's things that weren't finished that I would love to see them go
a very
back to.
Strong Zygarde-focused story.
Yeah, agreed. Then you could really play into the Xerneas and Yveltal.
And
aspects.
You even tie it into the Gen 9 mechanics and things like that as well, where you throw some time travel in there. We go back to AZ's time. I know they're never ever going to show us the Pokemon War, but God, I want it. I agreed. Also, just an aside, and I know this is a massive aside,
Gen 6's legendaries are just wrong. Like Xerneas, I know it's fairy, but it should have been fairy grass. Because then it counters, but is also countered by Yveltal, which is dark flying.
Yep.
Still annoys me to this day that's the case. And don't even get me started on Zygarde because it's weak again, completely neutered by the other two type. Anyway, Gen 6 remake. I love to see that. I still maintain February we're getting some announcements for games, but release date we'll have to wait and see.
And we'll keep you up to date on all new announcements here on the Goldenrod Podcast. Stay tuned for all new shows next year.
Good, very good radio voice there. Loved it. By the way, have you got anything that you want to plug? Anything that's coming up?
No, I'm actually at a point where I'm considering stepping away from YouTube.
No! Oh no! Is that because how hectic it is, or the last?
I just stopped being fun.
Yeah, because it starts to feel like
it very, very much became like work, and you start looking at it as an actual job prospect. We're quite a way off there yet, and the grind to get there again is just too much. And for me, I like taking time off for my health.
Yeah,
shot me in the foot quite a lot, and this was always supposed to be the thing I did because I couldn't do anything else because of my health. So for it to then be like, oh, well, my health is impacting this as well. There became a lot in it. And I'll tell you what, actually, I sat down to write a script and I was getting really, really stressed. And I couldn't work out why, because I'm like, this doesn't have to come out at any specific time. There's nothing going on here. There's no pressure. Why am I so stressed? And I realized it used to be my way of getting over the procrastination, was I would leave everything to the last minute and then that stress would get me going.
Yeah.
So now I'm at a point where anytime I'm motivated to do something, I'm stressed. I've Pavloved myself into it. So
yes, Pavlov dog. Oh no.
So it's just I don't know if I'll disappear forever, but it's not fun for the moment.
Yeah, it's always good to take a break.
This podcast is probably the only bit of YouTube I'm going to stick to for now.
Okay, it's a shame to hear, but I completely get I completely understand it. I'm at the point in my life now where like Let's Plays is about what I can do, like time wise,
consistently.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, I can record a couple of episodes, pump it out, even though I haven't released a couple of episodes because I've been working on something else. And I might as well tell people actually because I'm planning on releasing it soon anyway. I'm sure you've seen those Pokemon Let Them We Fight videos that are all over YouTube at the moment. So I thought, I'll do one of them with British. Recorded it, had an absolute blast. The amount of editing it takes to pull those videos together is ridiculous. I don't have the time to do that editing. It's absolutely crazy. But also, I don't want to pay someone money to edit something that is, in all intents and purposes, a hobby at this point for something that I make a couple of quid on every week. So yeah, the grind, unfortunately, with YouTube is very real, and there's a reason why the more people are at the top of that section, for example, Pokemon, the harder it is for anyone else to break into that, because you've either got to have unlimited time or unlimited money, or near unlimited money, to be able to pay someone to make up the time that you don't have. Really annoying. So yeah, so if you could go over to our YouTube channels and, show us a little bit of love, we'd really appreciate it. And that's the show for this week. If you've gone this far, you just top dollar, aren't you? If you have got a comment or question, send it in, because next week we're planning on just wrapping up all the questions that we've had sent in that we've not been able to get around to. So if you get your questions in quick, we'll be able to answer them, or your comments, whatever it might be. But if you want to do that, leave a comment on our podcast on YouTube. You can email goldenrodpod@gmail.com. You can leave it in our Discord channel, or use the hashtag goldenrodpod on Twitter. Before you go, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review on the podcast platform of your choice. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like down below, please. It really does help out the podcast. Conor, where can we find you?
You can still find me on Captain Fidget on YouTube. There you go. I added the still in there and ruined my own outro. Or on Twitter @CapFidget.
And I'm Ben. You can find me as Professor Hoenn Gaming on YouTube and Professor Hoenn on Twitter. We'll be back next Friday for another week of Pokemon Podcast.
See ya.